Hello, everyone. Welcome to this new season of Talking About Rock. I'm Rob Edwards, where we're keeping the torch of rock and roll alive. My co-host, Jerry Schmidt, is on vacation currently, and he'll be joining us next week. But today we have with us, for 30 years, our next guest was a driving force behind one of the biggest pop artists of all time. With his drive, creativity, and New York swagger, he created the grooves for 13 platinum Billy Joel albums, selling over 150 million copies. It is my pleasure and honor to have with us on Talking About Rock, Liberty DeVitto. Liberty, how are you?
I'm good. Let's forget about talking about me. Let's talk about your co-host who's on vacation, Dirty Brat.
Yeah, it was a last minute thing. So he apologizes for not being here. He wanted to speak with you, but I want to talk about you. You've had quite the interesting career, from being born in Brooklyn there, and then I guess your dad was a NYPD officer and stuff also.
Yes, he was. Now, I don't usually count to being born as part of my career, but
right. Well, where you started, right?
That's where I started. Yes, I started being born. It's funny because to be on vacation, in these times is pretty lucky.
Pretty gutsy, I think. Yeah, definitely.
Where are you?
I'm located in Buffalo, New York. My co-host is in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
So we get acts from New York and Nashville and around the country and different things, sometimes from California, San Diego, wherever new music is or stuff like that's going on.
Yeah.
But so
my career, you want to talk about me?
Yeah.
It's enough about me. What do you think of me?
So I just started reading your book actually here. And reading some stuff about you. So after seeing the Beatles, like many other artists,
yeah,
you were caught by that and you said, this is what I want. This is what I'm doing. And you taught yourself how to play.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't do the buzz roll. When I first got a drum set, I got into the 6th grade school band and I couldn't do the buzz roll for the Star Spangled Banner. So the teacher said, put the sticks down, DeVitto, you'll never do anything with the drums. So like getting into the 8th grade now, I'm in junior high and I'm seeing all these different human beings walking in the hallway, which are called girls. And I wanted to meet some, but the girls like the sports guys. I was terrible at sports, didn't really care for them, didn't want to go to gym, hated changing my clothes in a locker room with a whole bunch of other guys and stuff like that. Just couldn't stand it. So when the Beatles came on the Ed Sullivan show, I pointed at the TV because all these girls were screaming for them on the TV.
Right.
My sister and her friends were screaming at the black and white TV. And I thought, okay, that's what I want to do. Forget about the buzz roll.
Right.
I want to do that.
Yeah.
I wanted to have a bunch of friends and we played together and tour the world and make girls scream,
Yeah, so many artists I know that have been their turning point when they saw that was their catalyst. I've heard that over and over from a lot of different folks, seeing that they started so many people's careers. It's just amazing. But
life was stale back then, right before the Beatles broke. I mean, what did we have? Pat Boone singing songs and, Elvis was my older cousin's guy, they liked Elvis. And so it was like we were looking for something new all the time. And then all of a sudden these guys, now when the Beatles were on the Ed Sullivan show and you were watching them, they could have come from Mars. The accent, nobody heard an English accent before. Oh, who knew where Liverpool was?
Right.
Their haircuts, the suits, everything was so different. They could have been aliens that landed from another planet. and
right.
We just ate it up.
Yeah, they were definitely just huge. So that kind of boosted you. And then you went through a couple bands, I'm sure, as you started out. And what I was reading here is you ended up actually starting to play in some of the same clubs that Billy was. And you were in the New Rock Workshop, I think, when you were about 16.
Yeah, 16, 17 years old, New Rock Workshop. We played a place called the My House in Plainview, Long Island. And Billy was in a band called the Hassles. And we were one of the house bands and he was the other house band. And sometimes they would put us together on the same bill. and we play the same night. And that's how I didn't meet him to shake his hand and go, "Hi, my name's Liberty," and
right.
We would just pass in the dark and say hi. But it wasn't until I was watching them one night, and I was in love with a band called Traffic. They were like one of my favorite bands. Steve Winwood was the lead singer. Jim Capaldi was the drummer.
Yeah, they were real big for a while. Yeah.
And Dave Mason was in that band also.
Yep.
And I just loved that band. And I thought I was the only one that knew about Traffic. When their first album came out, Dear Mr. Fantasy. And I'm standing there watching the Hassles, and all of a sudden Billy breaks into this song called Colored Rain, which is on that album. And I thought, oh my God, he knows that song.
Right.
This guy's really cool. Finally, I see somebody that I can relate to, that is listening to the same thing I'm listening
to.
To.
There was a connection there for you to take a little notice, right?
Yeah. So when I got called for the gig, he was looking for another drummer, and Doug Stegmeyer told him, "Well, you know the guy, you've met him already," and then we found out we had a whole lot more than just Mr. Fantasy in common.
So was there a lot of folks auditioning when you went in, or did Doug, say, Billy, this is the guy, I got him for you, check him out?
No, I think right before me that day, there was like 5 different guys that came in, and I was the last of them. And I remember going in there with my drum set. It was at Columbia Studios in Manhattan. I had to drive in there and with my drum set, and I had an old set of Ludwig. I think that the bass drum was Silver Sparkle. One of the toms was maybe Burgundy Sparkle, and another was one of those sets that you put together from parts that people give you.
Right, sure.
So I went in there and I played all the songs that were on Piano Man and Street Life Serenade, because they had already been out already.
Right.
And then he said to me, he goes, I want to record a new album, and I got a couple of songs that I'd like to run by you, see what you come up with. And he was amazed at how fast I did that, really, really fast, came up with ideas. And he didn't know for 25 years that Doug had slipped me a tape of all those new songs.
For Turnstiles? Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the songs that went on Turnstiles, yeah.
Right. So you had the inside info there a little bit, which was great. So you're already ready with the ideas, ready to go. And that was a huge part of all this. I mean, all of these albums that came out, the songwriting and the music was just amazing, so memorable. It really stands up. You know what I mean? Go through the list really quick, and you go through these in your book as well. The Stranger, great album. For me personally, it really hit home a lot with 52nd Street when that came out. I was pretty young at the time, but when my sister, showed me that 8-track back in the day, and I was listening, I was like, this is really excellent. This is different. This is really true heartfelt stuff. You know what I mean? It was very emotional type of music to me, and the lyrics were very emotional sounding to me, and I really connected with it. I really thought it was great.
Well, I think what was great about it was, well, first of all, when I got in the band and we recorded Turnstiles, it was just me, Billy, and Doug that recorded that album. And then when we listened back, me and Doug had a band called Topper before that. And so we, when Billy needed guitar players, we got the other guys from Topper to come in. So once it was done with the inclusion of Richie Canada, Billy had a band that was playing for years already. So when people say, wow, that band was so tight, I remember seeing you guys in the 70s. Yeah, we were tight. We've been playing for years. Every day we would play, practice, whatever we did. So we were tight already. So when you could see the transition from Billy using studio guys, now used great studio guys when he did Piano Man and Street Life Serenada. Ron Tutt was on drums on those 2 albums. A great drummer, Elvis, come on.
Right.
So, but you could hear the transition. And at the time of The Stranger and 52nd Street, we were now with Phil Ramone. And there was the connection with all the great studio guys in New York City. Like I now had met Steve Gadd, Richard T., all those guys that were making all those records.
Right.
So we were kind of getting some rub from them, some influences from them but still maintaining our middle class, blue collar rock and roll grooves that we had. So you can hear us dabbling in some of that kind of stuff that they were doing, but we still had the rock and roll effect to it, you know?
Definitely. So yeah, that's excellent. So I just want to take a quick pause here. We're going to play one of the songs from where you guys are doing Only the Good Die Young here live. We're gonna pump that in here and talking about rock, then we'll be right back.
Darling, only the good die young. That's what I say. Only the good die young. Only the good die young. You got a nice white dress and a party on your confirmation. You got a brand new soul. Oh, and a cross of gold. Virginia, they didn't give you quite enough information. Count on me when you were counting on your rosary. Oh, whoa, whoa, and they say there's a heaven for those who will wait. Some say it's better, but I say it ain't. Rather laugh with the sinners and cry with the saints. Sinners are much more fun. Darling, you know only the good die young. I tell you, baby, only the good die young. Only the good die young. She always said, pray for me. Oh, 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 come out. Virginia, don't let me wait. Catholic don't start much too late. Sooner or later comes down the fake. I wanna be the one. Darling, you know only the good die young. That's what I said. Only the good die young. Only the good die young. Only the good.
Hello, everyone. We're back talking about rock. We're at Liberty DeVitto here. We just checked out Only the Good Die Young. Great song. Like I was saying before, all these songs really stand up. You know, the songwriting was so solid, you know, for so many of these things. You know, did you know as you guys were going through it, could you feel that? Or was it just like?
No, you know, I don't think if you asked Paul McCartney, did you know that they were going to be hits, those records? It was
right.
Like, no, we were just a bunch of guys that went to the studio.
Yeah, because sometimes you get that one song that really stands out. You're like, oh, I feel really good about this. Let's push that as the single when they used to do that. Or
Yeah, I don't think that actually happened until like Innocent Man. Like when you heard Uptown Girl back, you knew like, oh,
Right.
that's a smash. You know?
Yeah.
Those songs on that album. But like 52nd Street and a Stranger had so many different kinds of feel going on there between Just the Way You Are and Scenes from an Italian Restaurant. You know, Scenes from an Italian Restaurant would never be a single, it's too long. You know,
Right. They said that about many songs, didn't they? In back in the day.
Yeah. Until the Night on 52nd Street. Great song, too long. Can't have it as a single. You know, they even cut down Piano Man when he put it out. They cut it down.
Yeah, you mentioned Until the Night, one of my favorite tracks. And then I've only read a little bit about, you talk about the different songs in your book and stuff like that. And you talked about that, and you talked about the song 52nd Street was kind of just added on the end. I love that song too. I thought it was great.
You could hear the sloppiness of us playing that. Like, you know, like he came in with this tune and it was like, how does it go? Okay, let's do it. Boom, you know.
But it's got like a little sway to it, you know. It's got like a little, you know, kind of get you moving a little bit. I really enjoyed that. I really do, you know. Yeah, like I said, I just started reading the book here, you know, your Liberty of Life, Billy and the Pursuit of Happiness. If you folks haven't, you know, picked up a copy yet, check it out. You know, Liberty, you talk about all the albums, which is amazing. You give us a little insight into the songs and stuff like that. It's really cool.
You know, I did miss River of Dreams. Well, I know I talk about River of Dreams, the Greatest Hits album, because that has some good tunes on it too. The ones that were added on, like While the Night is Still Young is a great tune that I don't talk about in the book. And You're Only Human. Second Wind, it was another song that we did for that album that I forgot that we did them. You know, you do so much stuff, you forget.
Right. Well, there's a lot of stuff in here. You know, there's so much cool stuff about, you know, all the different stuff that you guys went through. I've just touched on a little bit of it myself, so I got to finish it up. But the other thing I wanted to ask you about too is how would you describe your drumming style? What would you say? Do you have a descriptive style that you would say is you?
Well, I am not I never took lessons. After that guy told me to put the sticks down, I literally did put the sticks down and never took lessons. But after the Beatles, I wanted to learn. And, but nobody would teach me how to play like Ringo because they thought he was terrible and the Beatles were going to be a flash in the pan and it was going to be over really quick. So I had to learn myself. And I played to records. I put on the albums and I would play. And the only way I could follow where I was in the song was to learn the lyrics and sing along. And as I was doing that, I realized, wow, the drummer only does a fill when the singer stops singing, or the drummer does a fill to take the band into a more exciting place like the chorus or the bridge or something like that. So I became what you call the songwriter's drummer. You know, like Ringo is a songwriter's drummer. He plays for the song. That's what he does. Kenny Aronoff is a songwriter's drummer. You know.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that kind of a little bit in your book, saying when you guys were putting some of this stuff together, if there wasn't lyrics yet, you were kind of just throwing some stuff in there just to kind of see how the song would move along, how it would put together. They weren't really going to be the words probably, but maybe it could give you an idea of the feel for it, right?
I made up some words like honesty was sodomy. I was singing.
Right,
you know,
I saw that.
There's a part that's an instrumental part in my life that I sang words to Billy that are so disgusting I couldn't even print them out in the book.
Right.
So that's why it's an instrumental. And he said I can never write lyrics to that. Yeah.
I thought that was so cool when I started reading that. I'm like, yeah, so that's kind of how you fit that in, and then you could kind of build the song around it a little bit, I guess, right?
Yeah. He would come in with an idea into the studio, and he'd run it past the band, and the band would play and start to make up little parts that we would play to that little idea. And if it really started to swing, he would go home and finish the song, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But if it was like, this isn't very good,
right,
he would just forget it.
He'd back burner it, or maybe like file it for later or something like that. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, all you guys really seem to hone your craft all through these albums. You know what I mean? So, and it had to be amazing when you started playing the really big arenas and stuff, and you're playing like, you know, New York City,
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden, all these huge arenas. That had to be like especially playing in New York, that it had to be your dream come true, right?
Well, everybody, my yearbook is really funny. When I graduated high school, I was so into music and so into wanting to do what I actually ended up doing, that some guys wrote, one of them was, keep your head and keep practicing, and one day I'll see you playing at Madison Square Garden. I kind of, another one wrote, keep practicing, and one day you'll see you're going to play with Steve Winwood. And so Steve Winwood played with us on the Bridge album. He played on the song called Getting Closer. And I actually was able to show him my yearbook. Said that.
That's excellent. And you've played with lots of different artists, not just Billy. I mean, you've been a session musician for Meatloaf, Karen Carpenter, Rick Wakeman, Stevie Nicks. I mean, a whole ton. I can't even name them all. I'm sure you can name more folks, but you've played with tons of folks.
Yeah, I'm still doing it. I'm involved with this charity called Little Kids Rock that puts instruments in the hands of kids in the schools where the music curriculum has been taken out. So it kind of gives lessons. It teaches the actual teachers in the school, it teaches them how to play guitar or a little keyboard, because they feel like if a kid learns one chord in the progression, he can play 25 songs. If he learns the second chord of the progression, he can play 50 songs. If he learns the full 3 chords of the progression, he can play 150 songs. So, that we do a gala every year to raise the money for Little Kids Rock. Now, Little Kids Rock has had over 500,000 kids pass through it already. So they raise money. They have a lot of people that support Little Kids Rock. Like I've played with so many different people. The last one we did live before the pandemic, Usher was there. Steve Miller, we played twice. Paul Schaefer's always in there. Will Lee is the musical director of the band. So it's a lot of great stuff that I really am honored to be able to do.
Yeah, that sounds like such an amazing thing. I think that's so important, especially now, to get the younger generation involved in music more and get those instruments out there for the different areas where they can't afford it, but just to keep that going. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem that playing instruments is as big of a thing as it used to be back in the day. You know what I mean?
No.
You don't see like these big rock guitar players anymore. That's not the thing. Or these, musicians and songwriters, like songwriting in the 70s was huge. And in the 80s, you're not seeing that now, I hope we get back to that.
Well, I asked a great songwriter that I had met. I do this thing called the Sessions, and it's a panel of people that talk to colleges and students that want to be in the music business, whether it be roadie, whether it be a producer or musician, whatever it is. There's a whole bunch of different people on the panel. And this one woman, a songwriter, she's a great songwriter. And I asked her, I said, do you think there'll ever be a time when there's 4 guys with suits on, just playing with no lights, no effects or anything again? And she said, if the songs are there, it could happen. That's what it is. You need that body of songs like that the Beatles had, that Billy had, that Elton has, the Eagles have,
Right. That is the most important key, the songwriting, the lyrics, and just how it fits together. You know what I mean? Definitely. And so some of your other projects that you had going on, you also put together the Lords of 52nd Street, and you guys were playing some of the old songs again, which I thought was great. Can you tell me a little bit about how that got together?
Lords of 52nd Street, Elizabeth Weber and a guy that manages us now, Andy Gilmartin, he went to the people who run the Long Island Music Hall of Fame. And he said, you should induct Doug Stegmeyer into the Hall of Fame. And, Doug was the one that passed away out of the band that we had, the original Billy Joel band. And they said something about like, well, why don't we get the band to do it? So it was myself, Richie Cannata, Russell Javers, and the late Doug Stegmeyer that were all inducted at the same time. So they had asked us if we would play a song. Now this was still when I still had the kind of like bad blood with Billy. And so I was like not into it at all. I wasn't going to go, you know. I was like, but then I thought about it, and I thought, for Richie and Russell, I'm going to go, you know.
Right.
So they asked us to play a song or two. So we did a rehearsal, and we learned about 4 songs.
Mm-hmm.
When we got there, we got inducted, we did our speeches, and then we had to play. We played the one song, and the crowd went nuts. So we ended up playing 4 or 5 songs that night, you know.
Excellent.
So after that was over, someone said, you know, there's so many tribute bands out there to you guys. You guys are the real thing.
Right.
Why don't you guys do that? So we got a Billy guy, you know, I call him the stunt Billy. And and he plays keyboards and sings, and you know, other guys to take the place, you know, to fill in bass and the guitar and second keyboard. And we go out as the Lords of 52nd Street, which was the name that Phil Ramone gave us on the back cover of the 52nd Street album.
Right. Yep, I remember seeing that. Yeah, that's great. So I'm going to take another quick pause again here. We're going to actually show some video from the Lords of 52nd Street. This is scenes from an Italian restaurant on Talking About Rock.
Perhaps a bottle of rosé instead.
Okay, we're back on Talking About Rock with Liberty DeVitto. So we just watched you guys, Lords of 52nd Street, playing scenes from the Italian restaurant. We're talking about your book a little bit here and some of the back and forth that you had with Billy over the years. And I'm so glad to see that they all got worked out. And he wrote the foreword for you in here in the book,
Yeah,
which is amazing.
Yeah, amazing. And also it's out on audiobook on Audible. And Billy actually read his part for the audiobook too.
Oh, very, very nice. Yeah, very cool. I love the foreword. It was really nice, heartfelt. You know, I'm so glad you guys, you know, worked through all that. You know, you guys made some outstanding music that's gonna stand the test of time. So it's great to see that.
You know what's amazing about that foreword? When you play music, you're in a band. You're never told how good you play or when you do something great. The only time they mention you as a player is when you do something wrong. You know, if you make a mistake, if your part is terrible, whatever it is, that's when they tell you what kind of drummer you are. But this forward, when Billy wrote it, and it was the first time I ever heard him explain what I had done for his music. And it was like, I couldn't handle it. When I read it, it came in on an email. And I read it to myself, and then I told my wife, I said, "You've got to read this. I can't believe this." You know,
that'd be such a good feeling to finally feel like, you know, he realized you made the difference, and he acknowledged that. That's outstanding.
Yeah. Well, another thing was when the Lords of 52nd Street were together. You know, I learned the songs. I'm in love with the songs again, and I'm remembering what they were like in the studio when we put them together. And I got Richie and Russell playing with me now, and Doug had left me a bass in his will, and Malcolm Gold, who plays bass with us, is playing that bass. And so all those parts are there. The only thing that was missing was the guy that I looked at for 30 years on stage and in the studio.
Right.
And we always bounced off of each other. That was missing. The friend part, not the guy that wrote the songs, the guy that was the friend.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So
you missed that closeness, that relationship, that connection that you had started out way back, like when you're talking about the beginning, when you guys had a connection in music and you're of the same mindset, right?
Exactly. You know, like John and Paul have the same mindset, you know, that you have to relate to the other person, you know. Billy would mention something and I knew what he was talking about. We came from the same, you know, we could have come from Liverpool. Just the two, you know, he was in Nashville, I was in Seaford. We were only one town apart on Long Island, you know. It was easy.
It was definitely meant to be. So the other project you got going on, if you want to talk about a little bit, the Slim Kings.
Slim Kings, yeah. Slim Kings, the Lords of 52nd Street, I do, and we make some money at that. And I enjoy it. It's easy because I know how the tunes go. The Slim Kings keeps me current. Let's put it that way. It's totally different when people say they're coming to see Liberty DeVitto with the Slim Kings. They don't expect to hear Billy Joel music.
Right. It is a little bit different. I was listening to some of the tracks. Like the one I really like is "Truth Be Told." I've been listening to that. I think that was really neat. But yeah, the stuff is definitely. I'm not in the vein of what your earlier stuff was. Yeah. Yeah.
Those the guys that are in the band, Andy Antonazio and Michael Saclaberna, they're when I first met them, they were in their 20s, you know, and I was like, however old I was at the time. And
right.
And the thing that connects us is they'll come up to me with a hip hop song and they'll go, "Oh, we want to do a song. Let's write a song with a beat like this." And I'll go, "That's Motown. That's a Motown beat right there." You know, they just sampled it. So the old and the new meet in the Slim Kings. Michael writes lyrics that are current of today. Like you say, "Truth Be Told." That's very current, you know? And it's time for young people to step forward and talk about what the situations they're in. You know, the old guys, Elton, I love his albums. He writes songs, but it's hard to write when you get older. You know, like Billy wrote a song called "Shades of Grey," which is on River of Dreams.
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about that. Like, it's easy to write things when you're young because everything's black and white.
Right.
Now you get older and it's like,
and you're full of emotion and all these different things going on in your life, and you have lots of friends around, and yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need that. You need those different influence and stuff for sure, definitely. Yeah. But I do like the new stuff. Like I said, I've been checking out some of the Slim King stuff, and it's pretty neat. You know, it's so great to see you still doing lots of stuff. You know, definitely. I love the book. I still gotta finish it up. If you folks haven't checked it out yet, pick up your copy of this book. You know, it's amazing. You can hear about all the music and all the songs, the history of Liberty and Billy. It was great. Liberty, thank you so much for being with us. We really appreciate you taking the time out, giving us a walkthrough on everything that's happening with you. We wish you luck forward. The nonprofit thing sounds great. I hope that keeps working out and maybe coming to different areas around. Maybe that'll keep growing. That's amazing. But thank you so much. We really appreciate you being with us today.
Well, thank you. It was my pleasure. Anytime.
Excellent. So if folks want to know more about you, where should they check you out with music? Should they just check you out on Spotify, or should they go to Facebook, or what should they do?
Oh, wait a minute. I'll give you my phone number. You can.
Well, just give him a call if he's not. I know you're on Facebook, and the Slim Kings are on Spotify,
and the Lords, Second Street are on all that stuff too.
Excellent. So folks, if you want to check that out, and always, if you want to have questions or comments for us, please feel free to email us here at talkingaboutrock@gmail.com. Please like us and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And for this interview and others, please check us out on YouTube. Excellent. Liberty, thank you so much for being with us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
See ya.